And we should be live.
All right. Welcome everybody to the, I was trying to check out the YouTube link. Welcome everybody to the Permissionless Software Foundation Technical Steering Meeting. Today is November 24th. I am Chris Troutner. I helped found the PSF. Let's go ahead and go do a quick round of introductions to everybody who's joined the call and wants to. Let's go ahead and start with you, Aaron Shoemaker.
Hi, my name is Aaron Shoemaker, and you can see my cat coming down the stairs behind me. And I'm working with the PSF with NFT development, some of the dev school, and things in that nature. And I work in the 360 VR space and merging that into the crypto world. So,
Nice. Go ahead, Stoyan.
Okay, my name is Stoyan Zhekov, and I'm helping with maintenance of the JavaScript libraries for PSF. It's all for me.
Go ahead, Aaron Sunman.
Greetings, all. Aaron Sunman. I've been a big fan of the Permissionless Software Foundation since the beginning of it, and I love so much of the ability to actually have something be permissionless, and what Chris and team are working toward in terms of making something that an individual, no matter what country they're in, can interact with the blockchain and can be a part of the crypto world. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, cheers. Go ahead, David.
I am a fan of Chris Troutner and the PSF, and have been working to support the things that he's doing for a few years now, and I think a couple of years. And pleasure to be here. So thanks.
Cheers. We got George Donnelly on the call. George, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Just been doing crypto stuff for a while, ground adoption, interested in building some apps and stuff in 2022. I appreciate the vision and the work that Chris is putting in. And so, yeah, just want to kind of be here and learn. So thank you.
Cheers. Cheers. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. How are we looking there, Aaron? Oh, lost your audio. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep.
we should be sharing. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and just for anybody watching this, the live stream on YouTube, feel free to ask questions. Probably the best place is the PSF Telegram channel. That'll pop up for me immediately if anybody wants to ask a question there. Yeah, let us know if there's interruptions with the live stream or audio or anything like that. So this community is growing, but it's still pretty small. And so these meetings, these bi-weekly meetings, are an opportunity for us to just sort of check in, discuss what's happening in the space tech from a technical standpoint, and also to celebrate the technical achievements that the PSF has made over the last 2 weeks. So as always, the agenda for the meetings can be found on GitHub under the Permissionless Software Foundation GitHub group under the repository called TSC for Technical Steering Committee. And the agendas are filed under issues. So you would click on this issues tab. We're on number 21, the one for today. And so we'll go through this list and we'll start with the PSF core software and then move down into other like areas of this more specialized areas that we're focused on. And as this grows and we get more people, we'll eventually spin out work groups and we'll have additional meetings just to focus on specific things. And probably the SLP indexer, I'm kind of anticipating that being probably the first work group we spin out once that gets going. But and also anybody who's in the Zoom call, feel free to interrupt me at any time. Otherwise, I'll just be up on my soapbox lecturing with my very monotone voice. So
we'll interrupt you. We'll interrupt you.
I'll help too.
Okay, so starting with our PSF core software, which is the BCH API REST API, the BCH.js JavaScript library, and the Gatsby web wallet. eCache completed its November 15th network upgrade. Fullstack.cash was upgraded ahead of time. There were no issues. Smooth sailing. BCH API has been getting a lot of code contributions, which is great. Unfortunately, most people contributing code are not people participating in these meetings. I'd love it if we could bridge that gap for some reason that exists. But one of the things that's been an issue in terms of accepting these code contributions is that the repository was directly tied to the production machines for fullstack.cash. So any code that got merged was immediately pushed up to the production machines. And so that was causing me to have a lot of fear and angst at accepting these code contributions. So those have been forked. There's now a fullstack.cash GitHub repository, and that is the code that it actually runs on the production machine. So now I can be a little more liberal with accepting contributions into the code repository because they don't immediately affect. I have another step to like do any sort of QA. So just refining our whole code contribution workflow. Minimal SLP wallet can now create a wallet. This is a JavaScript library that is like a fully featured Bitcoin Cash wallet, and it just makes it really convenient for any JavaScript developer who wants to build an app to interact with the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. Like they can just focus on the business logic and the value proposition that they're bringing, and they can just use this library to like instantly allow the user to have a Bitcoin Cash wallet to send and receive Bitcoin Cash and tokens. And so up to this point, it worked with 12-word mnemonics. And now you can actually create a whole wallet with just a private key. So I don't have one handy, but most of you guys have seen my laser etched wallets that I use. You can now like take the private key in that and import it into this and create a fully featured wallet that can, list the tokens held by it and select a specific token. And so it's a big value add. There's a regular stream of developers who ask if they can do this, and the answer's been no, and now the answer is yes. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Nice.
Just to mention, memo.cache accounts also have only private key, so it will be very convenient for them to use this minimal SOP wallet. Because they don't give you the mnemonic, they just give you private key. So now great, they can use also this.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stoyan. This makes it much more compatible with other wallets out there.
Yep.
Right. And the other thing is that there are certain ones that have different derivation paths, and it's been difficult to try and make it work with this. Now you can import one even with a different derivation path. I mean, that's just a great add. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about that too. I'm glad you pointed that out, Aaron, because I think right now the derivation path is hard coded to 245, but that's an easy thing to add to make it like it could default to 245, but then you can specify a derivation. That's a pretty easy thing to do. So that might be the next feature. Okay, moving out of the core software into more of our satellite projects. The JSON RPC over IPFS and the pay to write database. If anybody watching this isn't familiar with that, there's these links here. You can watch some videos and sort of understand what those are. But essentially, the JSON RPC is a replacement for a REST API. It's much more censorship resistant and fulfills a lot of the sort of business needs that a REST API would provide. And then the pay to write database is a blockchain-like database. It's censorship resistant. There's no central point of failure, but it's more of a database, and then it can hold much more data. It's much more scalable than a blockchain, at least a Bitcoin blockchain. Daniel created a backup tool for the pay to write database. So this is really handy. If there's ever like a catastrophic failure for any reason, it's really easy for anyone running their own copy of the pay to write database to run this code now and generate a backup copy. And then that backup copy can be pushed to Filecoin or shared. So it's just a really easy way to back up every entry that's in the database. And so that's pretty nice. There's also this diagnostic app. Let me show this. So when you're running like a desktop app or anything in Node.js, any sort of server side thing, IPFS works really good. A lot of times you just don't even have to think about it. It just works great. It's much more troublesome in the browser. The browsers, they can't make normal connections like a Node.js app can. They can only connect to the IPFS network over WebSockets. And that's an issue. So you got to set up an SSL cert. You got to just jump through a lot of hoops. And so what this does is it lets us very quickly and easily assess the connection health of the IPFS circuit relays that we're trying to set up from the perspective of a browser-based node. So this little app, it's at check-CRS, which is for circuit relays, .fullstack.cash, and it just spins up a IPFS full node in the browser, and then it tries to connect to all the circuit relays that are listed. And so you can see here it's having like, it looks like my node in Europe is down. For some reason that's been going down a lot lately, but it found these 5 other circuit relays that it can connect to. So just as a refresher, the way this IPFS mesh network works is circuit relays are these small nodes on the network, and we want to have as many of them as we can because their whole job is just to help nodes connect to one another. And so if any node can connect to any of these circuit relays, then it can connect to any other node in the network. And so that's why they're important. They're like critical for resistance to censorship, but also just the more we have, the better everything works.
So this is fantastic also, just because I've been trying to make a couple of these. So this will tell me if they're online, because otherwise it's really quite difficult to know. So fantastic. Yeah. Thank you. This is great.
So what it's doing is it's reading this gist on GitHub, and this is the connection info. So like for your nodes in Singapore there, I've got them listed here. So even if you fixed your node, I still have to update this gist. And in order for all the other nodes to pick it up and for this status to change. So I'll eventually move that into a code repository, so anybody can just submit a pull request and it doesn't necessarily need to depend on me to update.
Excellent.
And actually that's probably a good time as a reminder. If you look at any of the, so this will be a good time to remind about the circuit relay bounty. So we have a bounty for setting up circuit relays. It's $25 or 25 tokens per month. I might increase this now that the price of the tokens changed a little bit. I might increase that. But what we're trying to do is get as many circuit relays geographically distributed around the world as possible. There's a list of countries that we're looking for. There's videos with step-by-step directions. And then there's a list of deliverables. And I just updated this to point to that diagnostic page. And then we've also got the pay to write database, which is tracking uptime metrics. And so those will be how we determine if someone qualifies for the bounty or not. So yeah, we're looking for people to do circuit relays and BCH sort of cache stacks to provide access to the BCH blockchain. So if anybody wants to earn some PSF tokens, this is a great way. We try and make sure that the bounty is more than enough to cover costs of running like a VPS.
Sounds good.
Yeah, good way for people to get in and earn PSF without having to buy it.
Yeah, and it's really needed as well. I want to talk about that a little bit later, and when we come to the roundtable, because I've been figuring out how necessary setting this stuff up is going to be in the future.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that later. Another sort of really cool thing is this pay to write NPM library. So if anybody wants this just really lowers the barrier of entry to anybody who wants to poke and prod at the pay to write database and see what it is. Let me just bring up the Explorer real quick. So it's so we have basically what's like a block explorer at explorer.fullstack.cash. You can see all the latest entries. So when it comes up, it'll do the last 20 entries in the database, and then you can look at older entries. So for instance, so this is in my time, Pacific Standard Time. So about an hour ago was one of the latest metric entries. We've got this nice breakdown of the data in this database entry. And anyways, this pay to write database, P2WDB NPM library, it's compiled so you can use it both in Node.js JavaScript and browser-based JavaScript. So it's ready to just drop into a front-end app. And it's got these really convenient methods for reading all the different ways you can read the database, get a page of results filtered by the application ID. So for example, here in the metrics, the app ID is PSF IPFS metrics 0001. So you can filter the entries by that app ID, which lets different applications use the same database because they can easily be segregated by their application. You can read an entry by a specific hash. You can read an entry by transaction ID. And then to write to the database, you have to provide a private key. You can read it without providing a private key, but you just have to have a private key that controls some Bitcoin Cash and some PSF tokens, like a very tiny amount. The minimum requirements are listed there. And then you can call this write function to actually write data to the database. So it's just very convenient. I tried to remove as much of the technical jargon and understanding as possible. Any JavaScript developer that can just follow these code examples can just hit the ground running. They don't really need to understand any of the low-level mechanics in order to actually just start using it as a database for reading and writing data.
And for writing the private key, you can use a mnemonic or a private key for that?
Not a mnemonic. It has to be a WIF.
Okay,
yeah.
It's got to be a WIF. All right.
So basically, if you go to wallet.fullstack.cash, create a wallet, throw like 10 cents of Bitcoin Cash in there and one single PSF token, you're good to go. You can export the key, and then that's what you need. You're off to the races.
And if I remember, it's 0.01 PSF to write right now.
Point one.
I think
it's 0.1. Yeah,
point one. You got to burn the 0.1 to write it to the database.
Yeah. Yep. So one token will get you 10 writes.
Sweet.
Okay, so moving on to the token decks. This is just Gary is just steaming full speed ahead. So Ava Labs gave us a $25,000 grant to develop a decentralized exchange on the X chain over the next year. Gary is leading the development on that. He's been working on PSF AVEX wallet. There's a link here if anybody wants to check it out, but it's a command line wallet. It's exactly the same as PSF BCH wallet, except it works on the AVEX X chain. It's got a lot of, it really is pretty smooth. You can create a wallet, you can send some AVEX to it. It's got like a create token command if you want to create tokens. And he's adding these commands right now for make offer, take offer, and accept offer. Those are going to be the three sort of stages to a swap protocol transaction. So we're going to develop this on the X chain over the next year. And then we have a grant proposal into the eCash GNC to ask them to match out Ava Labs grant. And then we'll in parallel build the DEX on the eCash chain if they accept it. So they have till January 1st to do that. We'll see what happens.
Very cool.
But yeah, it'd be nice to get a little more money and get a cross-chain DEX going, and it would also give us a commercial use for the bridge, the token bridge that we've already built.
Yeah. I was messing around.
Chris, will the Gary's wallet work with Fuji Avalanche testnet or just with mainnet?
Well, the way it's designed right now is it uses the public node used by AVEX. And so it's just a URL. So I mean, we haven't tried it, but I don't think it would be very difficult to, I don't know if they offer a public testnet node, but I'm pretty sure that sounds like
They
something
have.
do. Yeah. So it should just be a matter of changing the URL.
Just change URL. Okay.
And then it should just work, as far as I'm aware. Like I said, I haven't tried it, but in theory.
Avex is not as cheap to mess around as it was 6 months ago.
Yeah. And and I'm excited to hear about Stoyan's progress on the multi-sig, because right now the exchange looking like our most pragmatic solution, but that means we're going to pay those higher transaction fees.
Yeah.
Anytime we do things with tokens on the exchange. And the thing is, like, there is a system in Avalanche for the validators to work together to lower transaction fees.
Mm-hmm.
But like Ava Labs can't just do that. Like, it requires the participants in the network to come together and work together to do it. So it's not like I don't know if the fees will ever get lowered. I mean, I hope they will, but the validators don't have an incentive to lower the transaction.
No, they don't. And last night I created a collectible, and like I bought some Avex back in May, and then I put it in a wallet, and then I pulled it up the other day, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, I wasn't even watching the price. And then I was exchanging, because you have to go between the X chain, the P chain, and the C chain, right? Like, you come in on the P chain, you got to take it to the X chain, take it to the C chain in order to mint a collectible, their version of NFTs. And I was like, wow, I'm losing money just going through the chains, you know?
Wow.
Because
I've been hearing complaints, but I don't really have any like hard numbers to put to it. But I've been hearing enough complaints. It must be high enough to
it's
upset some people.
It's not crazy, but just the idea that, all right, I wanted to move like 0.2 AVEX, which is like $40, you know, between the chains, and then it's charging me 0.01 or whatever, and you know, so I'm getting charged like 50 cents a time or something like that as I'm moving between these chains, just to move my money that's already in my wallet to create a token, you know. So then I have to like calculate, all right, there's a fee from moving from the P chain to the X chain, and you know, the X chain to the C chain. I need to then calculate in how much AVEX I need to transfer so that I can cover those fees, and you know, transfer the minimal amount. So
yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. This is why we're multi-blockchain, so we don't get pigeonholed. Like, one problem with one blockchain is not necessarily our problem.
Yeah.
And then just an update on the indexer to wrap up this agenda. Its progress is really steady. Just yesterday, it completed indexing the entire blockchain. So SLP Genesis is like block 540,000, and the BCH blockchain is currently at like 715,000. So it's a little more than 100. It's like 150,000 blocks. So it managed to index every SLP transaction that's ever been created on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain from start to finish. The results are super inaccurate, but the fact that it can go from start to finish without crashing is like a big milestone.
Nice.
And it takes several days, so that's kind of a bummer. But one of the advantages of having this first complete indexing is that we now have a database of basically a list of every SLP transaction that's ever been created. And so now we don't have to go through and filter out non-SLP transactions from SLP transactions. We, like, even though the results are inaccurate in terms of tracking the value, those transaction numbers never change. And so now when we go back to reindex, it's much faster because we don't have to process all the non-SLP transactions anymore. And that's what's going to that's what's going to turn out to be really powerful about this indexer, is it's going to let businesses that want to tweak the code and like say like, oh, well, we want to track, you know, some extra piece of metadata, you know, that's not in the default configuration. Well, they can make that tweak, quickly re-index, you know, over the course of maybe 2-3 days instead of 2-3 weeks, and index all the SLP transactions and get that extra piece of metadata in there. that they're interested in. So
Yeah,
it should make it easy to hack on this code.
I'm excited for this coming out because I as I'm looking in other ecosystems, I see how there's just such easy use when it comes to the SLP token protocol and creating that protocol and onboarding into that protocol. I mean, Bitcoin Cash is already readily available and it's very easy to get a hold of as far as some of the other tokens and coins go. And being able to just create SLPs that are very specific to your use case and use them, kind of like the PSF token, is going to be really big. And I think right now a lot of people are looking at the Ethereum ecosystem and some of the other ones and I've been telling my friends this. I'm like, the stuff that's being developed on Bitcoin Cash isn't getting a lot of attention yet, but I like that because it's like you've talked about, Chris. When the attention's not on, that's when the developers actually can work on the stuff that's going to be game changing.
Yeah, it's just that double-edged sword of getting attention. Is a lot of noise comes with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really appreciate where we are right now. So I got some stats that I wanted to share with you guys on this, because when I started this project, all I could do was sort of forecast, but now I actually have hard numbers. So the size of the database of the complete index database zipped is about 4 gigabytes, and so uncompressed it's like 7 gigabytes or so, and that's an index of every address that has ever held SLP tokens, every transaction that has ever involved SLP tokens, and so the transaction database is like 5 or 6 gigs right there, and that can actually be thrown away. But I mean, honestly, in the scheme of things, like 7 gigabytes of hard drive space is not a significant thing, and it could be reduced if that was ever an issue. But more importantly, while it's indexing, it really only consumes about 2 gigabytes of memory. So that's like more than a 10x improvement from SLPDB. And that's really the thing I was going for above all other things. Is I want to run a full node, the Fulcrum indexer and this SLP indexer, and they should all like comfortably run together under 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I don't really care about the hard drive space.
Now, that's awesome. And for those individual businesses out there that are wanting to run on this protocol, they can white label, correct? So they don't even have to have that much because they can just be looking for the SLP transactions that they're utilizing for their business, correct?
Yeah, for filtering, exactly. That's the thing. And so the one stat I was a little shocked by, and I'm like, these are all numbers that these are essentially worst case numbers. Like they can always improve from here. I was a little shocked that the average processing time per SLP transaction is somewhere between a half a second and 1.5 seconds, which is pretty damn slow. And if we ever get into like 32 megabyte blocks, they're like the norm. That's going to be a problem because I'd have to do a little math to figure out like what the max size or what the average block size would have to be for that slow processing time to start to become a bottleneck. Like right now, we're a long ways at the current transaction volume. We're a long ways from that being a problem. And like I said, I'm sure there's optimizations that can be done to make it faster, but I was kind of shocked at how slow, like half a second to 1.5 seconds per SLP transaction. How slow that was. But I mean, right now it's not a problem, but it could be a problem in the future if SLP tokens really take off. But again, there's filtering. I mean, the fastest way to process an SLP transaction is to not process it, is to just ignore the tokens you're not interested in.
So you're saying we'll have a problem if SLP Kitties comes online?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe not. Like I think the transaction volume would have to like 10x from here for it to even start to maybe be a problem. So that's the nature of scaling. So yeah, some interesting notes. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here, and let's go into the open discussion roundtable. I know Stoyan had an update for us with the multi-sig stuff, and I'm going to enable other people to share screens. And Aaron, I know you had something you wanted to talk about, but why don't we go ahead and start with Stoyan? I'm anxious to hear of any updates you may have on the multi-sig. You're muted, by the way, Stoyan.
Yes, I figured. Okay, so I will talk now just about this one, like 10 minutes. The juicy discussions will be later when we're more excited. So now just about the multisig. So this is the bounty, and we want to have like 3 or 5 multisig signed transaction. So what we are looking at is something like this one. So we have like op0, 3 signatures, and
all I can see is your desktop. You might be sharing a wrong screen.
Okay. Just a sec.
There's 2 of you now.
I think it's this one. Is it right one?
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Now we can see
All
your
right.
web browser.
Okay, so what we are looking at is this thing. So we will have like 2 signatures or 3 signatures, and we'll have 5 public keys. So the model that we're using for this is this example from SOP.GS library. So basically this code is doing it's building this redeem data, which is this part, the 5 public keys plus op multisig. And after this, it's creating the signatures, like at least 3. And after this, it's building the whole this script. So I almost, so in the moment I have oops, not this one. So I managed to the first the redeem data part is ready. So I can have here is the result. So it's 5 keys plus this option. It's only done with BCH GS functions, no bitbox.
That's awesome.
No XLP.
That's exactly what we
So next one, I'm trying now this part to create the signatures, but it's a little difficult. So I left it for a while. I'm just creating now some this filler, which is like fake signatures. And I'm working with them to create the rest of the transaction for now. And I will go back after this to create the real signatures.
Okay.
So yeah, this so this is the redeem part. It's ready. Here I still don't have anything. I'm filling them with this like fake transactions. And now I'm working on combining these 2, the signatures data plus the redeem data, to make the final.
That's awesome. This is so good.
Yeah, it's
so you the fact that you've managed to replace SLP.js and Bitbox with BCH.js, that was a huge part of this bounty.
It's
and
hard
then
to see.
And this is really where like my weakest area of knowledge in Bitcoin Cash is these redeem scripts and the locking scripts. I've always been able to rely on like Roscoe Callis when I have questions. So if you end up like I'm sure we can tap him for some of his script knowledge. I mean, I know like in the basic idea is that you have the locking script, which contains a hash, and then I believe the redeem script is the actual script, the program, which then compiles into the hash. Yeah. And so that's about the limit of my knowledge.
Yeah, this is the redeem script. So which is telling, this is the part of the so it's from here. So you have 5 public keys plus this op check something. So you need in front here op0 plus 3 signatures. And it will be ready. So, but it's like some deep code inside the BCH GS, and some of the functions which was inside the original bitbox, they're removed.
Oh,
Yeah, this, for example, this encode, you can see this bit code, P2 MS
yeah.
input something. They don't exist anymore. There's something like this now.
Can you copy and paste those into the Telegram channel? Because I'd like to chase these down and look at the commit history and figure out what happened there.
I will do this after the meeting.
Yeah, sure.
So this is the progress of the multisig. I'm working on this thing.
Man, that's great.
Yeah, and this is for now. I will share more juicy project later when everybody's like excited.
Well, that's great progress, Stoyan. That's huge, man. I mean, like you're nearly there as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, there's that one other thing to figure out, but man, just that was the thing that in my mind, the hard work was really just going through all that code and refactoring it to use BCH.js.
Slow but steady.
Yeah, it's going to help. I mean, honestly, like this indexer is important, but having multi-signature tokens is also incredibly, like this ecosystem's just not going to take off unless we have that. It's such a normal everyday business need, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about one more everyday need. Is it good now or later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, sorry, share again. I think we're missing one layer in our application level. So if you see, so I'm talking about this U app part of the stack. In the moment, we have only the very upper part, which is this Gatsby application, and very lower part, which is the BCH GS and maybe minimal SOP wallet is maybe on the low level, but we don't have the part inside between them. Like, for example, if I want to create, for example, DEX, or I want just to fundraising application, I want one like QR code, but when I put some money in this wallet, I want to show the balance. So it need to read the wallet, for example, every 1 minute or 5 minutes and just show the balance change. If I want to do this now, I need to create my own like some, like, I don't know, mix it JavaScript or something, but it's not easy work. And it's not only for BCH, like it's the same for most of the blockchains. So finally, the people start creating this use something. They're the ready hooks for React. So for example, the scaffold ETH application using a lot of them. And what they looks like is like something like this one. Hooks. So
if
you
can
have
make the
like,
font a little bigger, it'd help.
Okay.
Perfect.
Like, for example, you have use Ether balance, and you just put this inside your application. Just use Ether balance and address, and it will pull the blockchain every some seconds and will show the balance. Great. Like, very, very convenient. Or you have like use something, use token. It will show like the tokens balance or something. So these hooks are something that is everybody is missing. And this company like ETHWorks, they start creating this stuff. They have also, seems like they started also for DOT to create. So I think if we have BCH hooks will be great. The core will be the minimal SOP wallet, and we will create like use balance, use transaction or something. like 10 hooks maybe. It's not some huge number, just maybe 10 usual hooks. And we can use them. And we can have even another layer on top of this with components, like wallet component or balance component, like this scaffold it have these ready components. So if you have these two layers, it will be how to see, more easy for a lot of people. They will not use to create Gatsby applications, and they will not need to use the low-level BCH GS stuff, because we all know the minimal wallet is like a little pain to use from React, from browsers. So if we encapsulate these small functions in React hooks, I think it will attract a lot of people. Like they can use them directly inside their applications.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. If we just had a convenience method where you call it and it sets up a timer and it polls the balance of an address, and like you don't need to think about how it's happening. You just are going to get a regular stream.
So the donation applications will be maybe 5 lines of code. I think a lot of the people without the deep blockchain wallet will just put this, because like in the moment, the React hooks are like a standard way for React to keep state of some variables. If we connect this to the blockchain, they can use it directly without deep knowledge inside their React applications. That's this
that's a really good idea.
This scaffold they already like outsourced set all of the hooks to these guys, this stuff, because it's usable for everybody. You can just have like this hook inside any React application, Dex or whatever.
Is it specific to React, or could these be used like with Angular, Vue, like
only React? But I think most of the, maybe I don't know, 80% of the all applications, especially in the like blockchain industry, it's React. There's just some Vue applications, but I don't know, most of the code is just React. So we will target like very broad area of the developers.
So when you're talking about calling for the balances, is it constantly checking, so it's constantly pulling an application, or is it something like it's going to check every time a donation comes in?
You can like for example the ETH one is checking for example for block number to change. So every time the block is committed, it can change, or it can change every several minutes. It will. They have like for this because of these several time related hooks, like use block or use timer or something, and the balance is built on top of them. So you don't need to think about how it's accessing the low level. You just want the balance for some address, and you put it inside, and it will update itself.
Yeah, I'd like to understand the React hooks better, just so that I understand how they're different from, say, like an event or a timer in Node.js. I mean, I'm sure they're very similar. And then there's the low level implementation. This would be like a middleware, so we'd have to worry about what apps are interfacing to it and how are they interfacing it.
Middle level.
Yeah, and then there'd be the lower level, which is, you know, for as far as fullstack.cash is concerned, we don't offer like WebSockets or sort of event driven stuff. It's just, we just tell everybody poll, like this is why we have a rate limit, is, you know, just poll once a second or once every 2 seconds or whatever's appropriate. But that's what I mean. Like, this is the kind of middleware where you wouldn't really need to care, you know, are they using WebSockets or are they polling with the REST?
No, they will use the minimal SOP wallet in the core. So there will be no direct access maybe to the REST interface.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Make another library that leverages minimal SOP wallet.
Yeah, it will just import the minimal SOP wallet, because we know it's difficult because of these buffer errors and stuff like this one. And just make a hooks around it.
Yeah, it's a good idea, man. It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
We could definitely turn this idea into a bounty.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
think
and it'd
will
be
be
very
good.
useful.
We'll attract a lot of JavaScript developers with this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. React is the most popular framework, so yeah, especially if we just basically copied what they're doing. That's a great tip. Yeah, it's a great tip. I think maybe we should. What would be next steps on this? I mean, I think definitely we should consider turning this into a bounty. And then there's the maintenance of it that maybe we need to consider. But let's keep talking about this. Let's keep thinking about this.
I can start working on it to create like just one or two of the hooks, the most important one, like timer or something.
Yeah,
and just put it on the permissionless software foundation GitHub, and everybody can start adding stuff there just to create a small like framework what to be there, like hooks here and tests here. And
go Storian, if you want to run with this, go with it, man. And I'll definitely contribute to it, and then we'll
I want to look at it.
See where it goes.
I want to look at it too, because I think that could help out with like the time-based NFT idea that I was talking about a couple months ago. You know, if I have a way to put something into an application and then use hooks to listen to the blockchain for timing, and I can have that application change. And I want to eventually have NFTs that reload upon transfer. That's the idea of the rows, where the rows would degrade and then you transfer it and it updates, but the application would definitely need a way to look at the blockchain and see that the transfer had happened in order to go back to the first iteration.
I will show you very juicy stuff after this, especially on this topic. So you don't need application even.
Ooh,
it's
I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Well, before we go into that, Aaron, there was something you wanted to show us.
Yeah,
I think.
I want to bring up a topic of discussion on the permaweb, and so I'm working on some NFT projects with some different friends and their companies and stuff like that. And so I've been diving into the Ethereum world because I'm pretty familiar with how to make NFTs through SLP, but we know that there are issues right now with that because the icons are very centralized, which is something that's being worked on. Mutable data is another thing. But then I was looking into storage possibilities for this, and I'm looking at different protocols like Arweave, and listening to some of the criticisms they have of some of the other protocols like IPFS. Now, IPFS does have issues because it is open source. We've talked about open source problems in the past, and you can use a pinning service to put stuff up, but it doesn't mean that that pinning service is not going to go belly up in the future and then you lose your data. Or you could pin it yourself, but then I'm literally running a node 24/7, and if I'm going to sell an NFT to somebody, how are they to be sure that in 10 years I don't decide to just shut that computer and now that node's not seeding? Arweave does allow a pinning with they have a bridge to IPFS. Haven't figured out how to work it yet because I haven't really got on the Arweave matrix yet. But you can load to IPFS and then use Arweave as kind of a permanent pinning service. They have been really difficult to really work with and get tokens and just get in there and start adding stuff. I like their solution, and I haven't looked into Filecoin and Seacoin in depth like I've started looking into them, but I just kept running into these roadblocks, like thinking it shouldn't be this hard. It's way easier to take Bitcoin Cash and either get SLP or create SLP tokens or buy PSF and use something like the pay-to-write database. Only the pay-to-write database is capped at 10 kilobytes right now. Not a bad thing, but in the future having a similar database would be great. but then that got me down the road of I was looking into Loopring. I don't know if you guys are aware of them. They are Danny Wong is the guy that headed that thing up, and it is a level 2 solution for Ethereum. So
Okay,
basically,
that's what I thought it was.
yeah, and so basically you are, in a sense, wrapping your ETH. They don't necessarily call it that. So you're putting in your ETH. I tried to get on it last night, and the gas fees were more than the LRC that I wanted to put in. You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to put in like $20 to LRC, and it was like $60 in gas fees. And I was like, I'll wait. But they recently launched an NFT protocol for ERC 721 and ERC 1155, and I'm looking at their SDK as to, okay, how do you create these things? Now how their protocol functions is they use Merkle trees to take all the transactions they store off chain and then put them into a block to validate them on level 1, right? So, but then that comes back to permastorage again. Where is this data stored? And when I watched a video of Danny Wong in 2017, he talked about using AWS for the computations, and I'm wondering if they're not using AWS for storage as well, which brings another problem of permastorage, right? So,
Right.
so
I don't want to. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt
Sorry.
your flow, but I just want to make sure that I mentioned that you should definitely check out web3.storage. I've been using that lately,
Mhm.
and it is so effortless to just upload data to Filecoin,
okay,
and then once it's there, you can do whatever you want with it in terms of backing it up and your own individual redundancies. But they have a web interface for just uploading a file. They have a JavaScript library for uploading
Nice.
things from within a program, and
okay,
they don't charge it. You get a terabyte for free. You just sign up with your GitHub, the one-click GitHub sign up, and you get a terabyte for free, and you're off to the races. They don't charge any money. It's really like
that's
it's
awesome.
everything's like 1 or 2 clicks. It's like
I'm
it's totally effortless.
yeah.
Yeah,
I,
they're on fire. Like recently, there was news that you can put there also your application sources like JavaScript stuff there. You need to run from there like with IPFS, and it's faster.
See, that gets me to where I'm going with this, where it's like I look at Loopring, and if their off-chain data storage is AWS, and then that got me into, and as I'm going through protocols and applications last night on GitHub, and I started to think about all these dependencies that are also on GitHub, who's owned by Microsoft, and how quickly they could break everything by just erasing. And we know they're already doing that, right? So
Yeah, I think the future there is with Radical for code management, and then Filecoin for redundant backups.
yeah,
Another thing I like about Web3.storage is what they do is when you upload a file, they immediately take it and they pin it so it's immediately available. But then over the course of like 24 to 48 hours, it'll make its way into the Filecoin blockchain, and they'll list all the redundant miners. Like you can actually see specifically which miners have the data, and then they're really good with redundancies. This one piece of data has like 12 different miners.
See, I like IPFS because of the speed and the potential increase of speed over time. I'm looking at my node last night, and I'm seeing 223 peers all around the world, and how fast I can get information from them, and so the thing I really wanted to bring up here was this idea of permastorage, and how these protocols that are being built, like Ethereum, for instance. Ethereum is on GitHub, right? Like a lot of their dependencies are on GitHub. And how easy, if they become too big of a threat, how easy is it for Microsoft to just wipe that? Now all those Ethereum based applications are gone.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do to mitigate this, because I agree this is a real threat, even though most people don't talk about it. When any of the apps like on the PSF GitHub, what I try and do is you do npm install, which installs all the dependencies, And once I get like like I want to cut a new version, I need to be better about this, and I need to actually make an automated way of doing this. But what actually happens when you do npm install is like all the code that your code depends on is in that node modules directory
Yeah.
locally, and so you can then IPFS add the directory, and it'll give you a hash, but that hash is not just your code; it's your code plus all the code in the node modules. So it's everything that your code depends on in order to operate like sort of in that moment in time. And then you can upload that to Filecoin. So like you can just download that thing, which is the app plus the dependencies.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to run npm install after that point. But you also have to make sure you're using the same node version and the same npm version.
Yeah.
It's not complete protection, but it is actually possible to back up your dependencies along with your app.
You need to do the build after you make npm install. You need npm build, which will create JavaScript bundles from all the dependencies. So there will be no node modules directory anymore. There will be just maybe 5 or 6 JavaScript bundles inside this static files directory, HTMLs. So you just upload these JavaScripts and dependencies, everything is inside. So no need to have like node modules directory anymore.
So I haven't really spent as much time as I would have liked to check out Radical. But Radical is more like a replacement for GitHub. So it's just like code management. But that's the open question in my mind is how does Radical handle these dependencies and stuff, or do they even, that might be totally outside the scope of the software, but I think the solution to the sort of problem you're raising there, Aaron, is that like it is basically once you get your app running, whether it's a front end app and you have a dist folder like Stoyan mentioned, or it's a server side app where there is no dist folder but you still have your npm dependencies, is basically running IPFS add to get a CID and package everything, and then you can back that up to Filecoin.
Yeah.
And that way, if like the left pad incident a few years ago where the developer pulled his npm package off of npm, and then because you're seeing that more and more npm because are they owned by Microsoft now? Yeah, because they're owned by GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft. So they have a standing, like if someone does that, like they'll just replace it. And even if someone doesn't do that, if they have been caught going in there and replacing code, like with was not the original code. Like they're like, oh, we want this code in here and we own the repository, so we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Or the package manager. And so, and that's the nice thing about these CIDs is they will immediately set off alarm bells if anybody tampers. If they're not authentic, if there's any tampering of the original code. And so that's just a good practice that, as sort of, I don't even know what you call it, as paranoid people, like we need to get in the habit of basically packaging your app and uploading the whole thing, dependencies and everything to Filecoin. For the sake of posterity.
Well, that's from my side of things. I want to create permanent NFTs, and I'm really trying to research as to what is the best way to do that. I could pay for a pinning service. I could pin it to my own computer. Filecoin looks like a good solution. I was looking into Arweave. I know that NFT.storage, the problem with that, I think Protocol Labs runs them, but they do have in their terms that at any time they could just decide to stop pinning it, right? That's
Sure.
in their terms. So it's not necessarily that permanent solution that we'd be looking for. But, coming back to this issue of where this data is stored as far as these blockchains. So I'm looking at Loopring, and one of the things I think of is there's the big rumor that GameStop may be launching an NFT marketplace via Loopring, right? And we all know what's been going on with GameStop, and there's almost this big establishment battle, right? So my question is, all right, NFT launches their NFT market, or GameStop launches the marketplace. They're also talking about launching a way to do stocks and stuff like that. as a decentralized exchange. What if Amazon feels threatened and just removes the storage, removes the code? It's gone, right? That's a big Achilles heel in my mind. And that's where I think stuff like this and even the pay-to-write database come into play as solutions for this thing. Now, pay-to-write database is 10 kilobytes, but there's probably some ways to leverage level 2 applications from Ethereum to use the pay-to-write database as a storage space for maybe their Merkle trees before they're assigned to level 1 Ethereum, that sort of thing. And maybe it's not pay-to-write database, maybe it's Filecoin, but I see this as a big issue when everybody's tying their applications to these dependencies that could disappear.
Yeah. Well, in terms of, what I like about Filecoin is it's a rendezvous point, which is what blockchains provide, is a rendezvous point for other people. So I don't think it's a good, if you're a business and you're in the business of making data permanent, Filecoin or Arweave or Sia, these are all great, part of the solution. So I'll just speak for myself here, because I feel like I'm doing what is the proper way to do this. Is if there's a file I really care about, whether it's an NFT artwork or one of my programs, I'll upload it to Filecoin, but then I have a Raspberry Pi with a RAID 1 array, like a 4 terabyte RAID 1 array. And so what I'll do is I will upload it to Filecoin, and that makes it immediately available to anybody on the internet who wants it. But then I'll download it onto that Raspberry Pi with the RAID runaway, and I'll zip it. So I'll have both the IPFS hash and just a normal zip file with everything self-contained. And then it's in the RAID 1 array, and I can forget about it, because now it's in Filecoin, and I have a couple different local copies. The zip is nice because it doesn't depend on IPFS at all.
Yeah.
Whereas if I store it now and I spin up a IPFS node in 3 years to retrieve it, is it going to be what are guarantees do I have that it's going to be able? It's probably going to be fine, but maybe it won't be, and that's what the zip file's for.
Yeah. So those are just some concerns I had that as I'm looking through where to create these NFTs and what to do, and really surprised that a lot of these blockchains are leveraging AWS or Azure for their storage solutions, and I think this is a big weak point.
Definitely. Yeah. And people don't care. That's the thing, is they want to trust the company. And the question is the company asking these questions? Do they care? Because their users are definitely not going to care.
Yeah.
And most of the time, they don't censorship resistance is just not a priority.
Well, that's where I started to see more and more. I mean, I've seen it. That's why I'm here. But that's why I see more and more how censorship resistance and the things we're doing here make a lot of sense for the future of the entire internet. Being able to say you can build a business, and a lot of times people think censorship is just politically motivated. There's a lot of business motivated censorship, and if a business like Amazon, I'm running my application on Amazon, I'm using their EC2 instances or whatever, and I think that's what they call their machines, and I get to a point where I threaten one of Amazon's subsidiaries or their friends. It is very easy for Amazon to censor me and to either slow down, so it's a soft form of censorship, they're slowing down data transfer, or to just entirely remove it.
Well, if anybody wants to put this to the test, try and make a Minecraft clone. You will be censored at every turn.
Yeah.
Everybody who's ever tried has had their code censored on GitHub, their infrastructure on Amazon pulled down. That's why there are no clones of Minecraft. It's not a complicated game. It's not hard to clone.
Yeah.
Okay, my next project will be blockchain based.
Minecraft.
So maybe
yeah.
we can
Okay.
use-
Well,
I saw
so
yes-
it's been a bit. It's
yeah.
been about an hour, but yeah, let's go ahead and go into what you wanted to show us, Stoyan.
Really? Okay, okay. Okay, this will be later. So first, I want to talk about the 3 projects. So first one is related to our previous discussion about the DAO.
Mm.
The name of this project is just a second. Aragon.
Mm-hmm.
These Aragon guys, they're doing great stuff. They have like a bunch of smart contracts which are creating a very basic layer. They call it Aragon OS, and you can create whatever you want kind of DAO on top of it. So, for example, they have some examples here, like a company will be, you will have a shares, and your voting will depend from how many shares you have, or it can be membership, like a club. So it's just one token. So you are member or not member, or reputation, or whatever you want to create. And I tried several stuff here, like organization one was not very exciting, and the club also. But this DAO like organization, you can have like immediately after you creating the organization, it helps you to create your own token, and you can send these tokens to different people. So it's your community token. Mine is named DDT, but you can vote like for dot voting, means it will depend how much of this you use, or you can just vote with yes or no. And they have like maybe first to show, they have something like permissions. So you can decide every one of these modules, like voting or finance, how you want to execute it. So for example, every payment in my stuff is based on voting. I cannot pay without voting. Or you can like vote for projects or for rewards here, stuff like this one. And you can see here, most of the experiments I've done was like with different, like for example, I wanted to pay to somebody, so I created this one, and you can see the votes here. Yes, no.
So are there gas fees for this, or
they how to see, they deployed this on the lot of blockchains. I'm using Rinkeby because it's the testnet, but you can use it with the real blockchains like XDAI or Polygon. They're cheap. They have it also on the Ethereum, but nobody don't use Ethereum. So
right, yeah,
like,
XDAI seems to be the, like I know Shapeshift leverages XDAI a lot for a lot of these types of applications.
So
that's great to hear.
This one, I think it's how to see, a lot of the stuff we was talking about, you can do this with this guy, and everything is open source. They also have like a JavaScript library. So all of this that I show you here, they are like a separate application, and you can have your own application added here to this how to see, site or something. So great awesome stuff. Aragon.org.
Yeah, I'm on there right now.
I'm really thinking, you know, I've heard of Aragon. I haven't checked in on the site, so this is great because they've really come a long way in the last few months. I'm really thinking about our previous discussion about having work groups basically function as their own mini DAOs essentially, and I really like this as a solution for that. Is if this top level technical steering committee spun out a work group, say like with the SLP indexer, and it needed to have its own budget and its own basically autonomous group of people just focused on that one thing, this would be such a great way to organize all that. I'm a
Yeah,
little
it is.
paranoid about. I've been trying to think about what is my big hang up with tokens on EVM blockchains, and it's just it's the complexity. That's what I don't like about it. I like the simplicity of tokens on Bitcoin Cash because I understand them. You know, like it's and I know what can, and like basically it's risk mitigation. I know all the ways in which this thing can screw up. It's a known. And so I like that for like the organization managing lots of money. I want all those. I want known knowns. I don't want unknowns. And but for things where it's not as critical, I'm much more comfortable leveraging some of these more convenient technologies.
Yeah. No, I recently playing with this stuff. I figured if you don't want to put some value of these voting tokens, you can organize this voting on the cheapest blockchain you find. Like, for example, this Rinkaby's test net, but it's great. I have these tokens for free. I can distribute it, but like, for example, what I've done here is I put all of the tokens in this multi-sig wallet, this Gnosis stuff. So means only the people who decided can distribute tokens. So you cannot get some random people also can distribute tokens between them, but they cannot buy them or something. So you can use this for voting purposes only, and it will be cheap because there's no taxes for fees or something. It's only pure voting here.
Yeah, and we can always use bridges. I mean, we can always build a bridge to go from one to another, and you know that's
when the
not a very complicated thing to do.
Is finished, the voting is finished. The real payment can be done on the BCH blockchain, where is the real payment go. But the voting itself will be like so much cheaper here, and we can use the ready tools.
That's cool. So, yeah, and the UI is slick. Like that's the real value there is just having a slick UI and a workflow that you know somebody's already spent significant time thinking about that we can just leverage.
And it's very customizable. You can have your own like applications or customize it for your needs. So great stuff. One of the nice founding for me this week's.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, I think that's the thing. I would love to see at some point we're going to need to put the PSF minting baton in a multi-sig wallet, whether that's on Avalanche or on BCH. And then it really is like the ability to bring new tokens into existence is going to be a group effort, and we're gonna have to have a really slick voting system, because right now, I mean, we can vote, but it's pretty clunky. It takes a lot of work on my part to generate the vote and count the vote and everything. And the big advantage we have is that everything's on the blockchain, so if I screw up, anybody can call me out on it. So yeah, I'd love to have all the good sides of that and leverage some slick UI like this to make it just less painful.
Yes. Okay, so next project. Let's go to some exciting stuff for Aaron.
Yes.
Yes. It's a gelato. Sounds delicious, right?
I was just watching that, just popped up in my YouTube when I was watching some stuff.
Gelato, it's exactly the stuff that you are talking about. You want to have some contract functions, codes every 5 minutes or every 1 hour or something. These gelato guys, they are creating some maybe like infrastructure, but with smart contracts. So you don't need any infra on this one. So you can create your own like cron job task. Like this one is leaking the ice cream every 5 minutes. And what is doing it, so already like 45 leaks. And this NFT will change. It will go lower and lower. But let's see. And it will, you can fund it with some tokens. And this everything is smart contract. It's decentralized. There's not some server running it. So for the these guys, they are trying to be the cron job of the blockchain. I think because in the moment, most of the people are using chain link keepers. They have something like you can execute the contracts based on some conditions, like if balance is less than something, you can execute it, but it's very expensive. And they have it only on Ethereum and one testnet, Coven. But these Gelato guys, they have it on everywhere. So definitely take a look. It can help you a lot.
Cron job of the blockchain. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they will, let's see, we'll have a great success. Gelato. Sounds so delicious.
Good name.
Okay, and one more is Unlock. This one is also something like very, very, very delicious. These guys are selling memberships, but membership is done with NFTs. So,
Nice.
for example, here's the small example. We have the PSF meeting. We want to sell tickets, for example. So you just create a lock, and it will be named like PSF Steering Committee. And it will be just for today, but we will do this for 2 days. And how many members you want, like 20 people, and it will cost you some money. And so you create this one. You need to pay a little, of course, but because this is all of the blockchain. So in the moment, I created something like NFT factory. So anytime when somebody want to access this meeting, like they have a demo here. So this will be, for example, our chat or something. So if you want to join, you need to pay with here for this one with your wallet. And when you pay, it will create a unique NFT for you. So you can use it anytime for these 2 days only to come here. And so if we can see this transaction maybe on the blockchain.
So you say it creates a unique NFT, and does that NFT does that go away, or does
No, it's represent the membership, but it have a timestamp on it, so it will be valid only for the next 2 days. So after this, you can keep it. It will be with sentimental value, but it will not do any job for you. But for example, during these 2 days, I can sell it or send it to you, for example, and then you can participate in this meeting. So this NFT, it's represent membership. It's one of the rare cases when it's not digital art.
Yeah.
It can be, for example, you can create a ticket for a concert. Like, for example, you have a live jam in your studio. So for 1 minute, you can create this and sell tickets to the people, which will be valid only for today. And they can sell it to other people or transfer it. Great stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about how this paywall works. Like is it? See, what I'd like to do is that it's in my mind the magic is in that paywall part of it. Is that just an app on a server? Is it a smart contract that I could interact with without a front end or build my own
This is
front
nothing.
end for?
Here it's just checking your wallet. Do you have the NFT inside or no? It's doing just this thing. So this is just a piece of JavaScript which is checking the balance of some NFT in your wallet. If you have this NFT token, it allows you to go inside. If no, no. And you can do this inside this one, or you can send the signature to some backend server. Like you sign this transaction, send it to the back REST API, and it will allow you to do something.
Yeah, I'm really trying to the nut I'm trying to crack for myself personally is this fine art of like only, and this may just be a bad use case for crypto. That might be the whole answer right there. Is like I want to only display the high res version to the person who holds the
Yes.
NFT.
Yes.
Um, and I want to do it in a way that doesn't require a back end server. And that's the really hard part. And so if the asset was, say, encrypted to the public key of the person holding the NFT, it could be uploaded to Filecoin. And then I know that only that address, while holding the NFT, can access the that artwork. But then if they transfer the NFT, there has to be a whole ceremony involving the decryption and re-encryption of the asset
Well,
to reflect the new ownership, and that's the hard part.
this is what I was talking to you about the idea of locking up NFTs, and if there can be a JavaScript runtime program that lives on Filecoin that has a check signature function, then your wallet sends the message to the application for the check sig, and then it would allow you in. So in that case, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't need the ceremony because it would just be checking for signature verification on based on where the NFT is located in what wallet. You know. So, but that's exact. I'm looking for the same thing, and one of the I think this is a great step towards that of locking up NFTs, because I think that's where they're going to become even more valuable, and we're going to see a lot more utility being able to do this sort of thing. And it also makes me think about rentable NFTs. You know, for instance, say you're playing a game like Monopoly is a good example, and the NFT is the game piece, and you could rent the game piece as a way to be into the game, and then when you're done with the game, ownership would go some back. But in this situation, maybe the payload just moves somewhere else. I don't know.
You can this NFTs on the Ethereum based blockchains, they're smart contracts, right? So you can put the check for the NFT, this locking NFT, you can put it inside the contract. So for example, there is the one function they named token URI, which is pointing to the media.
Yes.
So this one will point to the right media only if you have the NFT. In other case, it will return nil. So you will not be possible to see the media.
So you could essentially put in, you could have two different URIs, right? The low res and the high res, and you could use the low res to sell in a marketplace like OpenSea, right? Because it would point to the low res, and then when you buy the NFT, it checks the wallet and shows you the high res.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So like this unlock protocol, it started to do this using NFTs for representing memberships, ownership, stuff like this one. So it's a little, how to say, different from the real content NFT, the media one. This one will be just, do you have it or you don't have it? And it's for time or for something. So I think it's great start.
I'm already seeing applications for, like, say if you are somebody that makes a lot of NFTs, you could sell a membership for people to have first access, right?
Yes, something like this.
So like first access to the content, first access to whatever, you know. So.
Yeah, exclusivity. That's what the NFTs are. I don't want to diminish that paywall. That's cool because that it might not work very well for fine art, but like content, like written content, video, like normal content. That's a great, great business model.
I mean, one of the things I'm going to try to be doing in the VR space is I'm talking to guys on my team here about how building community is going to be a big thing down the line, because, you know, my desire is to build digital assets that we then sell in the metaverse or whatever you want to call it. And so the idea is, all right, we can take a 360 camera and we can set up a 50s style party where everybody's dressed in 50s attire, and then have people come there in VR and participate in the party in some way. Maybe we're also including AR functionality so that, you know, it's like you're seeing things or seeing those people. But something like this could be great because you have to purchase the NFT in order to get into that party, you know, this pseudo virtual reality party.
They already done this I participated in such a party on the Near blockchain.
Oh, nice.
They make something with a beer festival in some city. I forgot the name, somewhere in Germany. So only if you have NFT beer, you can buy a real one. So it was nice. You just show this NFT. Okay, here is the beer.
Nice.
That's cool.
So,
Nice.
yeah, this is just a last site, just 5 minutes. NFTport.xyz. It's a very new one, but maybe it will help you to create the NFTs easy. And not only NFTs, but NFT markets, because it have functions for, it's a whole API for the working with NFTs. Like it will track what kind of NFT you have, something. So check on this NFTport.xyz. They're still developing the stuff, so you can get a free API key in the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check into that because I'm getting ready to help my artist friend do some NFTs on OpenSea, and so, you know, obviously I'm not going to use BCH for that. I mean, hopefully, I hope to work up to it, but at least to start with, I'm just going to take the path of least resistance. Yeah. Actually, I want to share this with you guys. This is a Raspberry Pi with a touch screen. So it's what is the Raspberry Pi is like? It's the 4 gigabyte Pi 4, so it's like $55, and then the case with the touch screen was like, you know, so I'm looking at like a little bit more than $100. But what's unique about this touchscreen is it's got it's drawing power from the R Pi, but yeah, it's got HDMI for the touchscreen, and then these are the dual mini HDMI on the Pi, and so there's this adapter that they sell with it that has, you know, so it just plugs in, and then but what's cool is I'm running Ubuntu 20 on this instead of the Raspberry and the default OS. And so it has a lot of control over these two ports. So what we want to do, what we're working up to is, if someone bought, like, again, this is the use case here for fine art, like really high resolution that they wanted to display on a big flat screen TV in high resolution mode. So the idea is like this screen, so it's like 1920 by 1080 is the standard resolution for high def. And so this is only a 480 by 320 display, but it'll replicate the screen, so I can have the resolution at 1920 by 1080. Everything I see on the high res will be mirrored here, and I can use the touch screen to sort of navigate. So you don't need a keyboard, you don't need a mouse. It's just one step. You plug, like, so the idea is, if she sold an NFT, a fine art NFT that unlocks the fine art, we'd preload it on here so that when the user, the non-computer savvy user, when they get it, they just apply power and plug in a TV, and they're off to the races. They don't actually need to do anything. It comes preloaded with the NFT. All they have to do is plug it in. But then this also gives us the opportunity to sell them additional artwork. Like, they could have like a subscription, which is a really good use case for NFTs, is buying like an exclusive subscription to, you know, future art. And so, you know, the idea is to get like 2 or 3 taps, and then they're signed up, and now they get a nice feed of new artwork to their device. Yeah. So that's kind of like the foundational tech that we're kind of playing with right now.
See, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to talk to you about that, because like, I'm doing the 360 artifacts, just 360 photos, and then I'm doing some 3D ones, and I also envision that, you know, eventually somebody has a LCD display and they pull up the NFT on that LCD display, and there's the artifact going around, kind of like they'd have it in their house, you know,
Mhm,
only you could see it around in 360, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's awesome.
I'd like to get it to a point though where if they sell the NFT, it just like this device can no longer access it, and that's a really I don't know how like I'm basically trying to make something that I don't know how to act.
I mean, yeah,
It will be interesting to show a barcode with wallet, like address barcode. So when they pay, this NFT will be just transferred to their wallet, and it will be not anymore in this device.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's the cool thing is so like by having the touch screen, you don't need a keyboard and mouse as long as you keep the interface extremely simple. But yeah, we have the ability to display barcodes and have this thing can have its own wallet. You can import wallets, you know, just like really it's very flexible once I get that sort of base user interface nailed down.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to you more about that for sure.
Stoyan, I want to say thanks for blowing our minds. Great stuff. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yes,
Yeah,
Stoyan,
yeah,
thank you
really
very
good
much.
stuff.
I'm going to be heading down these rabbit trails, or rabbit holes, whatever you call them.
Yeah, I always enjoy looking at those websites you bring to our awareness after the meetings.
For me, it's like watching an early episode of Star Trek, seeing what the future is going to bring. So,
It's not future, it's here, man.
Just don't be a
But it's not
red
easy enough for everyone to use.
You can
so it needs
sell
to
me
be-
the membership to your music concert today, now.
There you go.
yes, I agree. The possibility of doing things that are using peer-to-peer electronic cash because of this extra technology that you guys are providing, that to me is the exciting part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, sounds good. I think we're about wrapped up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Been an hour and a half. As usual, we covered some great stuff.
I think I'll have a piece of pie.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, Aaron, go
Raspberry
ahead
Pi
and
sounds tasty.
take us off of YouTube Live. We can go ahead.